again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Soul Sisters on Dash Radio on the Pure Soul channel. And now I have my fabulous, fabulous guests. I'm so excited to have them. You guys, we have bookerT and Queen Sharmell, I like to call her. How are you guys doing today?
Good. How you doing?
I am great. Thank you guys so much for being on our show. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things. But first up, I want to actually kind of zero in on Booker. Booker, so you are a hugely famous wrestler. What made you want to enter into that particular career? Did you even know it was a career path for you?
A paycheck.
Okay.
Way out of the ghetto, out of the street, out of poverty. I grew up, from humble beginnings. I didn't have a whole lot growing up as a kid or anything like that, but you never miss what you never had, but you always want more. It's one of those type of deals. I never played sports or anything like that as a kid coming up as far as organized in school or anything like that, because there again, lost my mother when I was very young, lost my father when I was very young as well, so just roof over the head and lights on and trying to live day by day, from age 13. It was rough. But there again, you never miss what you never had, but you always want more. I was that kid that I didn't wish to be a fireman or a police officer or a lawyer or anything like that, just because living day by day. I found myself as a young man looking to, for something, and talk about young kids, wanting to be a part of some, peer pressure as well. I faced that as well. I ended up going to prison for a couple of years for aggravated robbery, just because of, being a follower, learned a lot from that experience. After I came home, wrestling was the furthest thing from my mind, but I knew I didn't want to go back ever again. I remember the guy on the CO on the White Horse, on my way out when I left, he said it not just to me, but all of us. He said, I see you when you get back. That kind of like stuck with me, and the thing is, it wasn't something, I never held that against him or anything like that. Because he probably had been working at that facility for many years, and he probably seen so many of us come back, and I was like, man, I just do not want to make this guy, words come true. So I really found myself when I got out trying to figure out what was I going to do, and wrestling just happened to, fall into my hands because it was something that my brother wanted to do. But when I did it for the first time, it was like deja vu.
Oh, that's awesome, because I think so many people, especially a lot of African-American people, start from humble beginnings and they are able to will themselves and work really hard at being successful. So wrestling historically is not a sport that you see a lot of African-American people enter into and become as successful as you have been at it. So what would you say were the attributes or the things that contributed to your uber success?
Well, I wanted to be the best. When I did get in it, I watched wrestling as a kid coming up, and I always knew who the best wrestlers were. I think I always knew who the guys who were making the most money. That's what I was thinking about more than anything. But when I got into it, I didn't have a whole lot of us to look at for a blueprint perspective. So I had to look at them. And figure out how did those guys make it to that next level. And then I went at the same time, which was pretty much my own style of wrestling, my own, my own thing, that's bookerT. And now, I have a lot of young kids doing stuff that I trademarked, so it's pretty cool. But I knew when it was over with at the end of the day of my career, my name being with the greatest wrestlers that ever did it, and doing that, I think is what propelled me to the level, as well as looking at it only as a job all the time. I never looked at it like it was, as far as me being famous, I'm a star, or
Yeah.
anything like that. I always felt like it was up to other people to feel that way about me, but it was up to me to never feel that way. I always take out the trash, be able to cut the grass, be able to, humble myself, in everyday life. And I think that's what, propelled me more than anything, just keeping that mindset.
And so I noticed that you have set some records. So you are a 6-time wrestling champion, correct?
Yeah, 6
And then
times.
in one of them, you're the first African American, which is WWE.
Yeah. A world champion, but the accolades is one thing as far as being champion. The title meant much more to me. And over my 20 plus years, I had 35 championships, and
Mm-hmm.
and it was just because I always try to teach the young guys, if you're the best guy in the locker room, everything just seemed to fall your way. If you're talent, cream rise. If you're making the company some money, they're going to make sure they take care of you and put you in a certain, have that mentality right there. But there again, I try to tell young people, you got to know if you're talented or not. 99%, you keep your mouth shut. But if you're 100%, you speak up 100% of the time.
Yeah. I just think it's really good that, winning is not everything, but I think that in a field where, a lot of young people don't see anybody that is a reflection of them, I think that's very important. And to see somebody be as successful, even commercially, because I think sometimes outside, there's so many different things that you can do in life to make a living for yourself. And a lot of people don't think certain things are viable options, but and because it's so insular, like you have wrestling fans, a lot of people don't really understand that you can actually make a living and have a wonderful life and be able to take care of yourself and your family from that. And so for people to be able to see someone that looks like them in that arena, I think means a lot. You know what I'm saying? For
Well,
especially young African-American men and women.
but you really, you have to do your part too. I mean, so much goes into that, especially into the entertainment business in general. Just because, man, you got to stay on top of your game. It's always somebody looking to take your spot. They're always looking to replace you, so you got to make yourself valuable elsewhere, just so they say, man, if we lose this dude, man, he's going to go somewhere else and make somebody else. So you got to be able to, no, I'm serious. You got to be able to brand yourself in order to, still be able to create, because I always say you're not always going to be the center of attention, but to be able to stay relevant is very, very important in life. And that's what I am. I just try to stay relevant. So I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'm a utility guy, you know what I mean? All purpose, no matter what it is, Yeah.
Well, clearly it has worked for you because you are uber successful. So I'm going to switch gears to my friend, one of my besties, Queen Sharmell. So this is the thing. I'm asking you questions of a lot of these answers I already actually know. So we just won't make it. But so I'll just say, so for those of you that do not know, Sharmell, is a dancer and actress. She was the first Miss Black America. Like the list goes on and on and on. But how did you get into the wrestling arena? So let's tell our, listeners and viewers that.
Yeah, so I was dancing for James Brown, and I was on the tour bus with one of my besties, Miss Heather Hayes, and the guys on the bus, the band members were watching wrestling, and I really didn't know anything about it, and I honed in on the dancers that were on the show. So it was a group of girls called the Nitro Girls, and they did dance routines in between the wrestling matches. I was just enthralled by that because, of course, dance was my first love. So I went back, I found out about these Nitro Girls, and it turned out they were looking for another person. I auditioned, and that's how I got in. Now, fast forward a little bit. I became a Nitro Girl. I was called Storm, but then WCW went through a few management changes, and they decided that dance had no place in wrestling. So if you want to keep your job, you have to learn how to wrestle. So I went to the power plant and started training to wrestle. Wasn't, great at it by any means, but at least I was good on the microphone. So I was able to hang around the world of wrestling as a manager, as a valet. So I was able to talk on the microphone or, hit somebody with a chair every now and then. But so that's how I got in and ended up staying for a while.
Well, I've seen you, so I was like in shock the first time I saw you wrestle. Like, actually, like me and my mom were like crying, but the fact is matters because I just known you for so long. But I just think that again, it's kind of speaks to what Booker initially said, is that you have to make yourself relevant. You have to continue to grow and transform in order to stay in the business. So with that being said, you guys have an awesome wrestling school that I had the privilege of going to and seeing. So what made you guys want to, I guess, give back to the community in that way?
Wrestling is kind of like an underground business, and I realized how I found my way into the wrestling business. I kind of like slipped on a banana peel, and a door got cracked. Not even a door, a window got cracked open, and I got in. So I wanted to make it accessible to a lot of kids who don't have that traditional pathway to success in life, or just to if they're not successful in professional wrestling, they could just be a part of something, something that I think that's missing from the neighborhood. Back in the day, you could come out and it was a party outside. You could hang out with your friends, but now all of that is gone. The connection with people is gone because they do it all on the internet now, on social media. But to have them together in the building under one roof, creating something, building something with their own hands, man, it gives them a sense of ownership, like they're a part of something. And so I wanted to build an army of young men and women that wanted to be a part of something. First and foremost, from the beginning of our wrestling school back in 2005, I only wanted to take kids, young people. I wanted to be able to mold them and train them, because sometimes you get somebody 30 years old, 35, they think they know it all, but I say, man, if we could create something through an army of young people, and then they build it and have ownership in it, man, it's no telling how far we could go with this thing. And 15 years later, wow, we've created a monster, and it's getting bigger. It's just gonna get bigger. Hopefully this COVID thing, we get over this quick enough to where we really can get back to work and really do some big things.
And you ain't telling nobody nothing, because I need to get back to work. I need to not be at home. I need to be on the road.
And just to add to that, in addition to what Booker said, Heather, you've been to my home in Gary, Indiana, grew up in a beautiful home, right on Lake Michigan, right by the beach. But to outside society, I'm a girl from Gary, Indiana. So I'm supposed to be a statistic. I'm not supposed to make it because I'm from Gary, Indiana.
Yep.
But luckily, I had people who were in Gary, Indiana, my mother, my friends, people who told me I could be whatever I wanted to be. So representation matters. And that's what I want for these kids, because we tend to get men and women who kind of came from humble beginnings, or may have gotten in trouble early, or you're wayward kids or whatever, and they're drawn to wrestling. And I want them to know that they can be whatever they want to be. I'm this little girl from Gary, Indiana, but I've gone through 2 passports already, and I want the same for them. So it's very important for me to be able to provide that to them, to give them a fighting chance and an opportunity.
So that is, I think that's very poignant, because did you think that when you first entered into wrestling, were you aware that you were, one of few? There weren't many of you. And what I mean by that is an African-American woman. So were you actually conscious of the fact that, what you represented was little girls looking at you saying, hey, I too can do this? Because especially with African-American women, a lot of times we're the last, we were the last people on the totem pole. And so it's almost kind of like, when Michelle Obama went to the White House, it's like, wow, that's somebody that looks like me in that position. So were you conscious of that when you started in the wrestling industry?
Absolutely. I was acutely aware of that. But one of the things that I loved about how I started in the wrestling industry as a Nitro girl was the fact that we were almost like the Spice Girls. So you got almost one of everything. You got a different something. But also there's an awesome responsibility there. So I knew, being that I was the only Black woman there, I really had to represent, because I did want to create a positive image for those young Black girls who were out there looking at me. And, Heather, you know me, so you know that whenever there was an opportunity, though, I would try to give that opportunity to somebody else, because anytime I heard around the locker room they were looking for somebody to sing the national anthem, I was like, oh, I know this girl, Heather.
God. I'm like,
what I'm
girl.
saying? Right. I was calling you every 2 seconds, but it's like,
Yes.
it was a responsibility. And again, I very much want to give back. So I wanted to create a space where African American women knew that they could do this too. I wanted to just be that positive influence.
I just want to thank both of you guys, because I think that representation is everything. And I think that in the industry that you two are in, you have represented us well as African American people and given, shine a light on an opportunity that a lot of young Black kids might not have known that was available to them. So with that being said, before we get out of here, what do you guys have coming up next that we can, the people can find you on, maybe, see some of your shows, all those types of things?
So if you go to realityofwrestling.com, you can always see our shows. We do a weekly show that's on YouTube, but you can, get to the link directly through our website, realityofwrestling.com. I'm really excited about this weekend, though. Saturday, October 10th, we're having a free show. Because of COVID, we've had to change our business model, and we're doing drive-in wrestling shows. So we have our ring set up right there in the parking lot. People drive in, stay in their cars, listen to the commentary by bookerT and Brad Gilmore on an FM radio station, so you're safe and socially distanced. But we're partnering with an organization called Be Woke Vote, and they're a nonpartisan organization who they're into voter education and voter engagement. This is a really important election coming up. We just want to encourage all of our wrestling fans to let your voices be heard. Go to the polls and vote. So our show is called Swing Vote, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a big night, but more importantly, everybody's going to have a lot of fun. Be educated at the same time. When they leave, they're going to realize, man, we had an awesome experience tonight. And both sides of the party, Republicans, Democrats, going to be there, I'm sure. But I don't think they're going to be thinking about that more importantly than having a whole lot of fun. And that's what I think at the end of the day, it's really all about. Being able to agree to disagree, be able to live under one roof, be able to debate about something, come to a conclusion, and the conclusion has to be for us, the American people, as far as what we need more than anything else. So I think that's what we're just trying to get people to come out for, have some fun, and think, be woke.
Yes, we need to be woke right now. So tell everybody where they can find you on social media before we get out of here.
bookerT 5X on Twitter, Instagram. For me, of course, realityofwrestling.com is where you want to go for all your Reality of Wrestling information. If you want to find something out about the Hall of Fame, podcast and radio show, of course, go to Reality of Wrestling. Of course. Of course, man, YouTube, our YouTube channel, make sure you download and subscribe. Yeah, that's what they say.
I guess.
Yes.
I'm real Sharmell on Instagram and Twitter. Reality of Wrestling is the official row on Twitter, and Reality of Wrestling on Instagram. If you go to YouTube, we're bookerT's ROW. So please follow us.
That's like and subscribe.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
Like and subscribe.
We're showing our age.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, you guys. We appreciate everything you're doing. Make sure, listeners, you log into all these different places. Reality of Wrestling is really, really cool, you guys. So make sure I got to see a live show. If you're in Texas, make sure maybe you can come out this weekend and get educated and have a little bit of entertainment and fun. Right now, guys, we're going to go out with Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Marvin Gaye, and we will be right back.